Planeswalkers, the most popular card type for many Magic the Gathering players, and the most complained about card type among longtime players. Planeswalkers have a tendency to be very strong, sitting in place steadily accruing value until they eventually win the game all on their own. Of course, not every Planeswalker is strong. My worst Planeswalkers of all time video highlighted a few notable duds printed over the years, but most of them are pretty good, and some of them are very good, while still others are very extremely good, standing head, shoulders, and even torso above their peers. Once upon a time, this list of the most powerful Planeswalkers would have been made up, with the longtime Hall of Fame inclusions like Liliana of the Veil, Karn Liberated, and, of course, Jace the Mind Sculptor. For over a decade, these powerful walkers set the gold standard for what a great Planeswalker card looked like. But no longer, because most of the historically great Planeswalkers can't even crack a top 10 list by today's standards. This list is therefore not just a collection of the strongest, most powerful Planeswalkers of all time, it's also a sign of the times, as all 5 of the Planeswalkers featured in this video were printed in the last 5 years. Not only that, but the list is almost in chronological order. The best, most powerful Planeswalkers on the list are also the newest, with a very minor exception near the top. And yeah, Jace the Mind Sculptor, once the most famously overpowered Planeswalker card, and even, some might argue, the face of the Planeswalker era of Magic the Gathering, did not even make this list. I excluded Tibalt from my worst Planeswalkers list because Tibalt is just so bad there's no point to dwell on it, but Jace the Mind Sculptor, he isn't on our most powerful Planeswalker list because he's just not the most powerful Planeswalker anymore and doesn't even crack top 5. For this video, I've evaluated Planeswalker cards for their power level, both in the context of the various formats where they see play, as well as their strength in a vacuum. Planeswalkers that were designed to serve as Commander were excluded from consideration, but strong in Commander as part of the 99 is still a valid point of consideration. So with all that being said, let's jump right in, or should I say, planeswalk in? No? All right, let's go. But first, many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, how do I improve at playing Magic the Gathering? Well, you can practice with your favorite deck or watch some strategy videos. The best way to be better at Magic the Gathering is to take good care of yourself. Get some sleep. That's gonna help a lot. You know, great sleep is the key to keeping your mind sharp, and the key to great sleep is today's sponsor, Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep offers premium mattresses that are fully customized for your unique needs. It all starts with the sleep quiz. Answer a few simple questions about your body type and sleep preferences, and Helix will match you with the perfect mattress for your needs. Even though my partner and I have different sleeping preferences, Helix customized each half of our Dusk Lux mattress so that we get the best of both worlds. Helix offers over 20 unique options, including Big and Tall and Helix Kids. So there's a mattress for every sleeper. In fact, Helix is so sure you'll love your new mattress that they offer a 100-night sleep trial to make sure it's perfect for you. Best of all, Helix mattresses are conveniently shipped to your door in the United States and come in one box that's super easy to set up. You know, I not only actually sleep on a Helix mattress, I've been doing so for over 2 years now, and I love it. Right now, you can visit helixsleep.com/Tolarian to get 20% off of your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. The first step to improving yourself is improving your sleep. So switch to Helix Sleep today. Thank you, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring this video. Before we begin with the list proper, we need to address a Planeswalker who, while not quite cracking into the top 5 category, still deserves to be mentioned as an incredibly powerful Planeswalker, one in fact who has been responsible for the most groans from across the F&M table. That's right, it's Teferi, and he's on the list twice. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and Teferi, Time Raveler are 2 versions of the same character, each of which deserves an honorable mention. Teferi Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, from Dominaria, is a 3-mana planeswalker who... What's that? You're saying Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, costs 5 mana? No. Did you read the card? Well, yes, it says 5 mana at the top of the card, but as soon as you tick him up, you untap 2 lands, end of turn. So really, it's only 3 mana. And despite having a fairly typical planeswalker template of uptick to draw a card, downtick to remove something problematic from the board, and a high-cost ultimate that essentially says win the game, Teferi decks in Standard were notorious for playing no-win conditions, outside of Teferi itself. Once Teferi ultimates, it isn't long until you put your opponent to no permanence in play. But that's only step 1. Step 2 is the more miserable part. Your win condition is decking your opponent by repeatedly using Teferi's -3 tuck ability on himself, putting him back in your deck so you guarantee that your opponent runs out of cards before you do. And believe it or not, the other Teferi is even more frustrating, though in a different way. See, Teferi Time Raveler doesn't technically win the game by itself, nor does it provide passive card advantage, since he only gets to draw an extra every 4 turns, if you want to keep him in play, that is. But he does provide a different passive advantage in the form of his static ability. Your opponents can't cast spells anytime other than when they could cast a sorcery. This doesn't just stop them from playing spells on your turn. It prevents them from casting spells at instant speed during combat, prevents them from fighting over your counter spells, and it even prevents them from doing things like cascading into another spell, or casting a spell that they might hit off of Chandra, Torch of Defiance. This, combined with Teferi's frustrating pair of activated abilities, makes Teferi one of the most obnoxious cards to play against in Magic history. But while both Teferis are incredibly powerful Magic the Gathering cards, believe it or not, they don't even crack the top 5 strongest planeswalkers in Magic history. Not anymore, at least. Well, beginning our list at number 5, we have another planeswalker from War of the Spark. Who could have guessed that the set that printed more than 30 new planeswalkers had a few power outliers that will be remembered for the rest of Magic's existence? In this case, our pick is Karn the Great Creator. Karn the Great Creator is a 4-mana, 5-loyalty, colorless planeswalker with a static ability that's roughly as annoying as Teferi Time Ravelers. Artifacts your opponents control can't activate abilities, so a one-sided Stony Silence right from the jump. Its activated abilities are excellent too. Tick up to animate an artifact until your next turn. Tick down to wish for an artifact from your sideboard. This last ability is the biggest reason Karn makes the list. First of all, Karn is an instant lock piece with Mycosynth Lattice, or as some players fondly refer to it, Microsoft Lettuce. Mycosynth Lattice turns all permanents in play into artifacts, meaning your opponents can no longer tap their lands for mana. Microsoft Lettuce also makes cards in hand colorless, so that you can't, for example, pitch cast a Force of Vigor because you have no green cards to pitch to it. This means unless you have creatures in play that can attack down the Karn, you can't cast spells and will eventually lose the game once Karn wishes for a Walking Ballista or any other win condition. This combo was so miserable that it was banned in Modern after less than a year of legality in the format. On a smaller scale, Liquid Metal Coating does a similar thing, turning a single permanent, almost always a land, into an artifact to prevent you from activating it. Combined with Karn's +1 ability, you can turn a land into a 0-mana artifact, then turn the 0-mana artifact into a 0/0 creature, effectively casting Stone Rain. This is not as oppressive of a lock as Microsoft Lettuce, but it's still very, very good. Karn's massive pool of potential artifacts is also chock full of obscure cards that form infinite combos. In Pioneer, that meant the Pestilent Cauldron/Restorative Burst combo, which, paired with 2 Karns, 2 Kiora, Behemoth Beckoners, and a Nykthos with sufficient devotion, generates infinite mana and makes both players gain infinite life, before Cauldron eventually mills your opponent equal to the amount of life you gained that turn. The combo gets faster and requires fewer pieces with more obscure artifacts in your board, but I won't get into those specifics right now because, well, trust me when I tell you that your brain does not need to contain all the obscure combo lines that Karn enables. Even played more fairly, Karn gives you access to a massive selection of powerful artifacts. Maybe you want access to a strong sideboard card in Game 1, like Chalice of the Void or Tormod's Crypt. Maybe you are threatened by a bunch of creatures and need an ensnaring bridge, or a Wormcoil Engine. Maybe you're short on lands and you want to grab a Darksteel Citadel from your board so that you can cast more expensive spells. Well, whatever it is you want, Karn can probably provide it. What's more, Karn will only keep getting better as more and more artifacts are printed into Magic the Gathering's card pool. Sets like the Brothers' War, for example, gave Karn as many as 5 excellent new Wishboard targets in a single expansion set. It's no wonder why Karn was eventually banned in Pioneer altogether. Number 4 on the list is also the first on the list that came from a supplemental, non-standard legal set. Ren and Six, a 2-mana planeswalker that makes Tibalt the Fiend-Blooded embarrassed to exist. Well, more so than usual. Ren and Six is a micro version of the classic planeswalker templating. You tick up to pick up a land from your graveyard, aka draw a card, tick down to deal 1 damage to any target, aka destroy something, and ultimate to give the instants and sorceries in your graveyard retrace, aka win the game. Ren and Six is only really busted if a specific kind of card is legal: fetch lands. If you draw both Ren and Six in a fetch land, you will never be mana screwed for the entire game. A 2-mana card that avoids one of the most notorious fail cases in Magic is incredibly strong all on its own, but the fact that Ren and Six ticks down to ping pesky creatures and other planeswalkers pushes Ren and Six to new heights. What's more, Ren and Six only loses 1 of its starting 3 loyalty when it pings something, so a single Ren can machine gun down 3 X1s across 3 turns if you need them to. So say goodnight, Ragavan, and catch you later, Thalia, and for the love of just get out of here, Orcish Bowmasters. Ping, ping, ping. What's more, Ren and Six is the first planeswalker on this list to see a ban in Legacy, thanks to its incredibly unfun play patterns with Wasteland. In Legacy, Wasteland is very nearly on par with Strip Mine, as many decks play primarily dual lands and very few basics. Even beyond duals, nearly every deck plays something worth wastelanding. Urza's Saga, Ancient Tomb, Karakas, Dark Depths, Cavern of Souls, the list goes on. There are very few decks in Legacy against whom Ren and Six recurring wasteland a couple of times isn't game over. The fact that Ren and Six also killed Delver of Secrets and a variety of other X1s was just icing on the cake. And since we're speaking of Legacy, if you have not already seen my episode of Shuffle Up and Play where we jam games of Legacy with Brian Koval, aka Bosch and Roll, and Anurag Das, then you can check out that video here or linked in this video's description. But as far as Ren and Six is concerned, as long as you have fetch lands, it's gonna be a good planeswalker. She can even recur other utility lands like Cycle Lands, Horizon Lands, and yeah, Urza's Saga. But if you don't have any lands that naturally hit the graveyard, Ren and Six suddenly becomes a lot worse. This stipulation is part of why there are still 3 planeswalkers that are even better, and all 3 of the following walkers need no help to take over the game. Coming in at number 3, it's Oko, Thief of Crowns, another potent planeswalker that came to us by way of standard legality. A 3-mana Simic planeswalker with 4 starting loyalty, Oko ticks up 2 loyalty to create a food token, ticks up 1 loyalty to turn any artifact or creature into a 3/3 elk with no abilities, and ticks down 5 to swap an artifact or creature you control with a creature your opponent controls with power 3 or less. Right off the bat, a 3-mana planeswalker that can tick up to 6 loyalty after its first activation is a planeswalker that will almost never die by combat or burn alone. Oko's most egregious ability by far is its +1 ability, elking something. At face value, this is meant to turn your food tokens into 3/3 creatures every other turn. But what Wizards of the Coast designers did not consider was just how impactful this ability would be when targeting your opponent's creatures. All of a sudden, any creature that was better than a 3/3 with no abilities was utterly neutralized by Oko's infamous elk ability. That Wormcoil Engine? Yeah, that's an elk now. That Urza you just cast? He's an elk. He's an elk. Oh, look at you! You have a Reality Smasher, do you? Well, you get 1 attack with it, and then, oops, it's an elk. Oko was so obscenely powerful that elking became a meme worthy of its own Know Your Meme entry. Yes, I know about knowyourmeme.com. How else would I, the professor, know all of your memes? It's true. I'm able to sound so hip and with it thanks thanks to knowyourmeme.com. I guess you could say the professor can have little knowyourmeme.com as a treat. Special thanks to Carmen Klomperens for introducing me to knowyourmeme.com. Oko's rampage through all the formats he was once legal in was quite the sight to behold. First banned in Standard after a nice 69% of players registered the card at Mythic Championship Eldraine, many of whom also played main deck Noxious Grasps to remove opposing Okos. Then banned in Pioneer during the early beta testing phase of the format, and then banned in Modern after the Simic Oko/Urza food decks took the format by storm around the end of 2019. And then, yes, finally banned in Legacy after dominating that format for 2 years. Wonder how many points Oko is in Canadian Highlander. Well, anyway, the card's dominance in Modern was particularly impressive, as it lasted long enough in that format to make its way into some pretty surprising places. One player even went viral on Magic Twitter for trophying a Magic Online Modern League by simply splashing for Oko in, of all things, Modern Burn. Yes, Oko's reign of terror in Magic was legendary, and for a long time it seemed no Planeswalker would ever be better. Oko's reign of terror in Magic the Gathering was legendary, and for a long time it seemed no Planeswalker would ever be better. Well, not that long a time, it turns out, because less than 3 years after Oko was printed, the last 2 Planeswalkers on this list entered Magic the Gathering. The second most powerful Planeswalker on our list has only been around for a couple of months. It's also a card that, if I'm being honest, drives me absolutely bananas. Or I suppose I should say, squirrels. That's right, it's Comet Stellar Pup, a legacy legal Planeswalker. No, this is not Silver Border. It's real. A 4-mana Boros Planeswalker from Unfinity with 5 starting loyalty and only 1 ability. Sort of. Here is Comet's ability in all its, I don't even want to call it glory. Oh my god, I gotta read all this? Alright, 0. Roll a 6-sided die. If you roll a 1 or a 2, add 2 loyalty, then create 2 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens. They gain haste until end of turn. If you roll a 3, subtract 1 loyalty, then return a card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. But wait, there's more! If you roll a 4 or 5, Comet Stellar Pup deals damage equal to the number of loyalty counters on him to a creature or player, then remove 2 loyalty. It just keeps going, because if you roll a 6, add a loyalty, then you may activate Comet Stellar Pup's loyalty ability 2 more times this turn. Now I want to be clear, I think the team that designed Comet did a stellar job of designing a comedic cosmic dog Planeswalker. You can sort of train it to fetch or bite, sometimes, but not really. At the end of the day, if it sees squirrels, it's gonna chase squirrels. But I'm getting off track. My issue with Comet is the same as my issue with every card from Unfinity that was legacy legal. Why? Why was this legacy legal? Why not make the whole set, wait for it, hang on, here's an idea, Silver Border. We liked the Silver Border. We loved the Silver Border. Did Hasbro really feel like they couldn't sell enough packs of this set without some of them being legacy legal? I just can't, sorry. As frustrating as Unfinity's legality still is to me, I need to move on. Calm Blue Ocean. If you do want to hear extensive thoughts from me about everything that went wrong with Unfinity, you can check out my video on stickers. Here, stickers! Or you can check out my Commander deck of the future. Here. Check those videos out to see me really let loose on my thoughts. But let's get back to Planeswalkers. But let's talk about what makes Comet so good. You might not think a card that gives you a random ability is reliable enough to be strong. But let's take a look at what happens when you roll each of these abilities. If you roll a 1 or a 2, your Comet ticks up to 7 loyalty and makes 2 1/1 creatures. That is actually a fantastic rate for a 4-mana Planeswalker, all but guaranteeing your Comet won't die in combat or by burn. Sound familiar? That's one of the traits that made Oko so great. If you roll a 4 or 5, then Comet Comet deals 5 damage to a creature or player, then ticks down to 3. This can protect itself from a threatening creature in play, or just bonk your opponent for some damage. The 3 roll is the most hit or miss, since it ticks down to 4 and doesn't protect itself. But in some cases, this mode is fantastic. Say in Vintage Cube, if you have an Ancestral Recall or a Time Walk in your graveyard. Speaking of Vintage Cube, did you watch the Shuffle Up and Play where we drafted a real Vintage Cube? If you ever wanted to see a paper Vintage Power Cube in action, check out that episode or linked in this video's description. No, Comet Stellar Pup does not make an appearance, all the more reason to give it a watch. But of course, Comet's best mode is when you roll a 6, which will happen, believe it or not, 1/6 of the time. Yeah, I double-checked the math on that, I'm right. You can even roll a second 6 with one of your additional activations, stacking even more extra activations. Heck, there's a very slim chance that Comet can chain enough 6s together that it becomes a 4-mana instant win card, getting to high enough loyalty that its 4 and 5 die roll deals lethal damage to your opponent out of nowhere. With its inherently high variance and ability to win the game, or just put you so far ahead that you've basically won the game, with a single activation, Comet is a miserable card to play against and isn't even that fun to play with. It doesn't even feel like a Magic card, you know? Magic is a complex, nuanced game full of meaningful micro decisions to try and outmaneuver your opponent. Comet is none of those things. Just put them in play and start rolling some dice. But as much as I wish this pup was not eligible for inclusion in this list, he very much is, because he's Black Border, Legacy Commander legal. All right. Let's move on to the number 1 most powerful Planeswalker today. Our number 1 Planeswalker, the strongest, the most powerful, arrived in Magic the Gathering during the summer of 2022. Minskin Buu, Timeless Heroes, courtesy of Commander Legends 2, Battle for Baldur's Gate 3. Holy cow, what a card, and also what a game. 4 mana for a Gruul Planeswalker with 3 starting loyalty, Minskin Buu can create a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste when he enters play, and at the beginning of your upkeep. Wait a second here. Shouldn't this card just be called Minsk? It's Minsk, and Minsk creates a Buu token. It's Minskin Buu, and Minskin Buu also create a second Buu? I just don't see the logic of it, but I'm willing to move on. Never mind I said anything. Minskin Buu ticks up to put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature with trample or haste. Such as, I don't know, say that Buu token. He ticks down 2 loyalty to throw a creature at any target, dealing damage equal to that creature's power. And if that creature happened to be a hamster, you also draw that many cards. Minskin Buu goes absolutely berserk if you don't answer him immediately. Buu attacks for 4 on the first turn, then either 4 or 7 on the next turn. If it's 4, you can use Minsk to throw him at your opponent's face or another creature for 4 more damage, and to then draw a whopping 4 cards. Minskin Buu, a single card, has now dealt a total of 12 damage and drawn you 4 cards in just 2 turns. And Buu will come back again the following turn. I guess that's why Patrick Sullivan said of Minskin Buu,
a Magic Pro, I don't remember who, but described Minskin Buu as Gristle brand, but they pay. Yeah.
And yes, you can watch that episode of Shuffle Up and Play here, linked in the video's description, yada yada yada. The card is ham-fisted, overly powerful, and awkwardly templated. Its +1 is certainly designed to grow Buu, but can actually tick up on any creature with trample or haste. Doesn't really make sense from a lore perspective, I must say, but they wanted to make the card work with more than just itself, so sure. Along those lines, its fling ability can also throw any creature, not just one with trample or haste, but of course you're better throwing a hamster because then you get to draw cards. Now, it doesn't specify that hamster has to be Buu, but Buu is currently the only hamster in Magic history. However, you could always throw a changeling. Minskin Buu is hard to interact with cleanly, since removing the Planeswalker is not enough. You have to answer the big hamster too, but you have to answer the Planeswalker first, because otherwise, Minsk will make a new big hamster on their next turn. On the flip side, there is one window of interaction that does answer it. With the Create a Buu trigger on the stack, you can actually lightning bolt the 3 loyalty Minsk before your opponent gets a chance to activate him. Even then, though, he still gets his 1/1 hamster token. In my opinion, Minskin Buu and Comet are prime examples of how not to design a Planeswalker for tournament-sanctioned play. Though powerful, these cards do not really feel like Planeswalkers, slowly providing an advantage over the course of several turns. They're kind of just boulders that you push down the hill once, and they take care of the rest for you. There's not much counterplay against either card, and neither card really feels like Magic. Comet is equivalent to casting a random number generator, while Minsk feels like your friend made up a new house rule where his guys get to be twice as good as all your guys, simply because he can't stand losing. At least Oko, for all his many faults, felt like a Planeswalker. Minsk and Comet really do not. It's a shame, too, that the best two Planeswalkers in Magic history are from the flood of supplemental sets that have become the new normal, rather than ordinary Magic cards from an ordinary standard set. That is true, too, not just of powerful Planeswalker cards, but powerful Commander cards as well. But that, my friends, is another video. But that's just the world we live in now, and indeed, with the new policy on fewer and fewer standard Planeswalkers, it's likely that all new Planeswalkers to usurp a Walker's spot on this list will have to come from a supplemental set from now on. Oh god, Modern Horizons 3 is on the, horizon. Y'all got $500 for a box of that, right? Right? No? Well, hopefully whatever Planeswalkers are coming to us from that will at least be like a Planeswalker card and not whatever the hell Comet is. But that's just my opinion, and now I want to hear from you. Who are the most powerful Planeswalkers that I did not mention that you feel should have been on this list? Let me know in the comments below, and want to know the opposite, the worst Planeswalker card designs ever? See my video on that subject here, or linked in this video's description. And remember, this video was brought to you by A Good Night's Sleep, otherwise known as Helix Sleep. You know, I actually sleep on a Helix mattress, and I absolutely love it. That's why I love that I can offer you 20% off your own Helix mattress when you go to helixsleep.com/Tolarian, and you'll also get 2 free pillows. You know, Helix mattresses are delivered right to your door, and Helix is so sure that you're gonna love your new mattress that they offer a 100-night sleep trial to make sure that it's perfect for you. So take that first step to a better night's sleep with Helix Sleep today, and thank you, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring this video.
Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
Today, we have built decks for each other. I'm Krim.
I'm playing Abe for Janitor Ooze.
My name is Chase. I will be playing Indoraptor, the perfect hybrid. I'm Princess Weeks. I will be playing Saskia, the unyielding.
Me. What'd you make for me? What'd you make for me? It's Queen! Oh, that's so cool. You're the rabbit promo. I'm destroying the extra planar lens.
That's strictly personal. There's
I'm
so
gonna
many
give
better
5
things.
points.
All right, I play Blasphemous Act. I'm going to hold priority. I'm scared. I get it. I'm a good deck builder and I'm frightened of my
Wow.
This is amazing.
Okay. So good.
Wait. You just said it's amazing. The deck I built for you. You just
Can we
said
edit that
this is
out?
amazing.
Did I say amazing?
You better not edit that
I'm
out.
under duress.
In fact, play it again.